Welcome to the eBusiness Playbook podcast, proudly sponsored by Ocademy Global, where we help you go from theory to reality, empowering you to elevate your e-business. Join our open community at the eBusiness Playbook by Ocademy on Facebook and LinkedIn, and check out our training packages at ocademyglobal.com to find out more.
Welcome to the eBusiness Playbook. Something pretty fundamental has shifted in how we all work these days. Our topic for today is how to effectively manage a remote team and really make it work brilliantly for your business. So for you, the business owner tuning in, maybe you're trying to navigate this whole new world of work. We're digging into the core of this transformation, like why it's happening, what really kicked it all off, and where this remote trend is actually heading. We're aiming to pull out the practical stuff, the key strategies, the tools that genuinely make a difference, and those mindset shifts you need to, not just manage, but truly empower your remote workforce.
Absolutely. And I think for the business owner trying to make sense of all this, the big question is, how do you build a high-performing remote team? One that doesn't just survive, but maybe even, surpasses the productivity and the cohesion you might see in a traditional office. We'll be looking at insights to answer that, focusing on the forces driving this change, the practical resources out there, and the really essential techniques for leading effectively when your team isn't all in one place.
Okay, so let's tackle that first bit then. Why this huge move to remote work? It feels like, just yesterday, the office was kind of the default setting. What sparked it all?
Well, what's really fascinating when you look at the trends is this increasing globalization of workforces. It's less about where you are physically. And while remote work wasn't exactly, born overnight, its widespread adoption, it was undeniably sped up by events like the COVID-19 pandemic. That acted as a massive catalyst. It forced so many businesses to adapt really quickly. And in doing that, many discovered it was viable, even found benefits. Think of it like a huge, unexpected pressure test that, surprisingly, a lot of companies passed.
That's a good way to put it. It really did feel like a forced experiment, didn't it? And one that showed some real promise unexpectedly.
Precisely. And understanding the shift, it's not just, academic interest anymore. It's actually core to keeping employees engaged and ensuring long-term success for the organization. If you're not strategically thinking about remote work, at least in some capacity, you risk, limiting your talent pool for one, and potentially hindering your company's ability to adapt down the line.
Right. So, okay, for the business owner who's ready to embrace this or maybe refine their approach, what are the key types of tools we need to sort of wrap our heads around? It can feel like a bit of a digital jungle out there.
That's a fair point. It can seem overwhelming. Think about equipping your remote team across 4 main areas, basically. First, you absolutely need solid communication platforms. Keep everyone connected. Second, efficient project management tools. That's for organization, tracking progress. Third, you need solutions for time management, which can look a bit different when people aren't in the office. And finally, for some businesses, employee monitoring tools might come into play, though the approach there needs careful thought.
Okay, let's break those down a bit. Communication platforms, what are the sort of go-to options? What makes them stand out?
Well, when it comes to just staying connected day to day, platforms like Slack are really popular. They offer, real-time chat through different channels for specific topics or teams. This can really cut down on email clutter and speed up decision-making. Plus, the built-in audio and video calling is great for those quick impromptu chats and that searchable history. It becomes like a living knowledge base for your team, which is incredibly useful.
Yeah, that search function alone, I can see how that saves so much time compared to digging through old emails. What about Microsoft Teams? That seems to be everywhere too.
Microsoft Teams gives you a very integrated experience. So beyond just chat and video calls, it has seamless file sharing and collaboration built right in. The way you can customize notifications helps people manage focus, which is key remotely. And an interesting little feature is the chat with self. It can be like a handy digital notepad for personal reminders.
And Shanty was mentioned too. What's their particular focus?
Shanty tends to emphasize using a variety of communication methods. It's a good reminder, really, that not every single interaction needs a full-blown meeting. Sometimes just a quick message or maybe a short voice note can be way more efficient. It helps mimic some of those, informal office chats we miss.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting gears to keeping projects actually moving forward. What about project management tools for remote teams?
Right. For project management, Taiga is an interesting one. It's open source and particularly good if your team uses methods like Scrum, Short work cycles, regular check-ins, or Kanban, which is more visual workflow management. It offers pretty comprehensive task tracking and reporting. Then there's WeCon, another one focused on those collaborative Kanban boards, great for a clear visual overview of where things stand.
Oh, wait.
And then, of course, you have the really widely used platforms like Asana, Trello, and Monday.com. The big thing with these is how customizable they are. You can really tailor workflows to fit exactly how your team operates, visualize tasks in different ways, and ultimately it helps boost accountability and transparency.
Yeah, it seems like it's all about maintaining that visibility when you don't have the physical cues of being in the same room, isn't it?
Exactly.
So what about managing time effectively? That seems like another potential challenge remotely.
It definitely can be. Time management tools like Rescue Time can give individuals really detailed insights into how they're actually spending their time, helps identify distractions, improve focus. Then you have tools like Clockify and Harvest. They're more geared towards managing timesheets and generating reports, which is often crucial for things like client billing or just tracking internal project costs.
Got it. And then there's the category of employee monitoring tools. This one feels a bit sensitive sometimes.
Yeah.
What's the core idea, ideally?
That's a really valid point. It is sensitive. Tools like DeskTime, for example, offer automatic tracking of computer activity and provide analytics on productivity. The absolutely crucial thing here, and any business thinking about these needs to be super clear about this with their team, is the purpose. Ideally, the goal should be understanding overall team productivity patterns, maybe identifying roadblocks, seeing where support might be needed. It shouldn't be about, individual surveillance or micromanagement.
Right.
Transparency about how these tools are used, if they're used, is just paramount for keeping trust.
Okay, so we've got the digital toolkit laid out, but just having the apps isn't enough, is it? It sounds like we need a really well thought out communication strategy to make it all work.
You've hit the nail on the head there. Effective communication is like the central nervous system for a successful remote team. It really starts with setting up clear communication protocols. That means deciding, okay, which tool do we use for what kind of communication? How often should we expect updates? What are the right channels for different topics?
So like maybe instant messaging for quick questions, email for the more formal stuff, and video calls for those deeper discussions. Something like that.
Precisely. Matching the method to the message is key. It stops people getting overwhelmed with information and makes sure the important stuff actually lands and gets acted on. And encouraging regular check-ins, both one-on-one and as a team, is also vital. The exact frequency might vary, depending on the team size, the projects, but consistency is what really builds that connection and alignment.
How do we make sure everyone feels included in all this communication? Especially thinking about different time zones, maybe different work styles.
Yeah, fostering inclusivity takes conscious effort. Trying to centralize communication on one main digital platform can help stop people missing key info shared somewhere else. And recording important meetings, making those recordings easy to find, that ensures people who couldn't make it live, maybe due to time zones, can still catch up and stay in the loop.
It makes a lot of sense. What about feedback? Getting feedback on how the communication itself is working. It's harder to read the room remotely, isn't it?
It is. So actively asking for and acting on feedback is invaluable. Things like anonymous surveys or just having open one-on-one discussions can give you crucial insights. You find out how your team actually perceives the communication, where the pain points might be, and showing you're listening, that you're willing to adjust based on their input. That builds huge trust and makes communication better over time.
And thinking about morale, in a remote setup, you miss those spontaneous office moments, the water cooler chat. How do we keep spirits up and acknowledge good work?
Recognizing achievements becomes even more important remotely, I think. Publicly celebrating wins, both for individuals and the team, really helps maintain motivation. It reinforces a positive culture, it shows you appreciate the effort and makes sure contributions are seen, even when you're not all physically together.
Okay, but managing remotely, it isn't all smooth sailing, is it? There must be common hurdles business owners should, be prepared for.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. There are definitely unique obstacles. Communication barriers can pop up more easily without those face-to-face cues that help clarify meaning. And simple things like time zone differences can make scheduling and real-time collaboration tricky. It just highlights, again, why you need those clear protocols and a good mix of communication tools.
And building that basic trust within the team. That must feel different when you're not physically seeing people every day in the office.
It really can. Remote workers might sometimes feel a bit isolated, and that can impact their sense of connection to the company, to the team. So building trust requires really consistent, transparent communication. It means having crystal clear expectations for performance and making sure everyone has the resources they need to actually succeed. And it also means resisting that temptation to micromanage. Instead, empower people, give them autonomy over their work.
Yeah, that resonates, giving people the space and, well, the trust to handle their responsibilities. What about maintaining that team spirit, that sense of community?
That's a big one. And it needs proactive strategies. Feelings of loneliness or disconnection, they can definitely creep in when everyone's remote. So think about organizing virtual social things, maybe online coffee breaks, virtual happy hours, team building games, whatever fits your culture. Even just short personal check-ins that aren't only about work tasks can make a huge difference in fostering that sense of belonging.
Data security, that's got to be another major concern, right? With everyone accessing company stuff from different networks, different locations.
Yeah, absolutely critical. The distributed nature of remote work inherently increases potential security risks. So implementing robust security protocols is non-negotiable. Things like VPNs, multi-factor authentication, clear data handling policies, they're essential to protect sensitive company information.
Okay. And what about accountability and performance tracking? It seems like a fine line to walk between monitoring progress and making people feel untrusted or overly watched.
Exactly. It requires a really nuanced approach. The goal should be tracking progress, making sure deadlines are met, ensuring work gets done, but without creating an atmosphere of mistrust through, invasive surveillance. The focus should be on clear goals, transparent reporting, and accountability for outcomes rather than minute-by-minute monitoring.
Okay, so we're aware of the challenges, the potential pitfalls.
Yeah.
Now let's really focus on the solutions. What are the absolute best practices for not just managing, but like truly leading a fantastic remote team?
Well, I'd say the absolute cornerstone is setting incredibly clear expectations. And this goes beyond just listing job duties. It's about fostering a whole culture of transparency and mutual accountability. Every single person on the team needs a deep understanding of their objectives. They need to know how their work fits into the bigger picture, the company goals, and have a really clear idea of what success looks like in their specific role. Detailed role descriptions, regular reviews, these are vital pieces.
And the goals themselves, they need to be well defined too, right?
Yeah.
Not just vague aspirations.
Oh, absolutely. Define manageable goals. That means breaking down big objectives into specific, measurable milestones. Clearly communicate what the priorities are. And ensure the goals are realistic, achievable, and have clear timelines attached. This gives people focus and helps keep that momentum going.
We touched on this earlier, but it seems so fundamental. How do we really actively cultivate that team bonding, that connection, when everyone's spread out?
It just requires intentional, consistent effort. It really does. Beyond those structured virtual social events, look for ways to encourage informal interaction. Maybe dedicated chat channels for non-work stuff, virtual water coolers, and those personal check-ins. They should genuinely focus on well-being, showing you care about them as people, not just as employees.
Diversity and inclusion, hugely important everywhere. How do we make sure that's a priority in a remote setting too?
Actively fostering D&I in a remote team, it's not just the right thing to do, it's a massive strength. You need to consciously value and celebrate cultural differences. Create inclusive digital spaces where everyone feels comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives. Maybe consider unconscious bias training. Just ensure that every single voice feels heard and valued no matter where they're logging in from.
And of course, we have to come back to the tools. It's not just about having them, but using them smartly.
Exactly right. Utilize the right tools thoughtfully to actually enhance communication and streamline how work gets done. Those all-in-one platforms can be really effective for keeping everyone connected and information flowing. The key is choosing tools that genuinely solve your team's specific needs and make it easier for them to collaborate effectively.
And ultimately, I guess it's about balancing productivity with nurturing a positive, supportive team atmosphere.
Precisely. You maintain productivity and accountability by fostering that open communication, that sense of inclusion, that shared purpose. When people feel connected, when they feel valued, and they understand how their individual work contributes, they're just far more likely to be motivated and feel accountable for their contributions.
This all seems to circle back to really investing in our people, doesn't it? Supporting employee well-being feels even more critical when that traditional office structure, the physical safety net, isn't there.
Absolutely. Prioritizing your team's well-being isn't a nice to have anymore. It's a fundamental pillar of good remote management. The importance of mental health support, it just can't be overstated. When employees feel supported mentally, it directly impacts their engagement, their job satisfaction, their commitment. And the data consistently shows happier employees are more productive, sometimes significantly so. Providing access to resources like counseling or digital wellness tools sends a powerful message that you genuinely care about their overall health.
And that line between work and life.
Yeah.
Wow, it can get so blurry when your kitchen table is also your desk.
That's a huge challenge with remote work, yeah. So actively promoting work-life balance is crucial. This means clear guidelines around working hours, really encouraging people to take breaks, use their vacation time, respecting their personal time is key. Offering flexibility where possible, maybe destigmatizing mental health days can empower people to look after themselves, and just having open conversations about workload and stress helps too.
What about the physical side of things? Sitting at a potentially non-ideal home setup all day can take a toll.
Physical well-being initiatives are important too. Encouraging regular movement, promoting healthy habits, maybe providing guidance on setting up an ergonomic workspace at home. Simple ideas like suggesting walking meetings for calls that don't need video can help. Some companies even offer stipends to help employees get essential home office gear, like a good chair.
And similar to communication, getting feedback on these well-being efforts seems vital to make sure they're actually helping, right?
Absolutely. You need that feedback loop. Regularly ask how people are doing, maybe through well-being surveys. Gauge if the initiatives are hitting the mark. Identify where you could offer better support. It shows you're invested in their well-being long-term, and you're willing to adapt based on what they actually need. It fosters that culture of care.
So, okay, wrapping this up, for you, the business owner listening in, what does all of this really boil down to as you navigate this evolving landscape?
I think it boils down to this. Embracing remote work strategically, it's not just reacting to a trend. It's actually a significant opportunity, an opportunity to build a more agile, more resilient, potentially even more productive organization by really emphasizing clear, consistent communication, by carefully choosing and using the right digital tools, by proactively tackling the unique challenges, and maybe most importantly, by prioritizing the overall well-being of your team. You can absolutely build a thriving, high-performing remote workforce.
Yeah. This deep dive hopefully has given you a solid framework, lots of strategies and things to think about. But, remember, every business is different. Your context is unique. So take some time, reflect on what really stood out to you from this discussion. How can you adapt these ideas to fit your specific company culture, your team's needs?
And maybe consider this. What specific challenges are you facing right now with your remote team? Or what new questions has this conversation sparked about how you're doing things? This is really just the start of an ongoing process, isn't it? We'd encourage you to explore some of the tools, the strategies we talked about, and just keep refining your own playbook for remote success. Here's to building strong, connected, and ultimately really successful remote teams.
Thanks for joining us today on the eBusiness Playbook.
For the complete PDF with all the insights from this episode, head over to academyglobal.com. There, you'll find the PDF, plus other valuable podcasts and resources to fuel your business growth and career success. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.